Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is Lori, just in case some of you guys didn't know that. But today I'm going to be doing another new segment, and it's going to be called Book Blabber, if you guys couldn't guess by the title. It's going to be called Book Blabber, and it's basically going to be me just talking about any random given subject for that video or that week or whatever. So the subject for this video is going to be buying books or borrowing books. I personally prefer to buy my own books, and that probably has a little bit to do with the fact that I kind of want to have my own library. Like I want to be able to have a room dedicated to all of my books in my house one day, and I want it to look like a library. Like I'm really trying to have like a huge room full of books, like, you know, those people that you see in like these ginormous mansions and like huge estates, and they have like these huge library sections, and then they have like these swinging ladders. Yeah, well, that's the kind of library that I'm trying to have. I know that I'm probably not going to be able to afford a library that big, but I can wish and dream. But essentially that's what I want to do. I want to have a really big room dedicated to all of my books, and I just want to have like this really big collection of books. And so I kind of rather buy my books than borrow them. I used to borrow books from the library when I was a kid, and I guess it was okay when you were a kid because you didn't really have a job, didn't have a lot of money. But now that I'm older and now that I work and I go to school, I kind of have gotten into the trend of buying my own books, and I kind of prefer that because I get to add them to my collection and stuff. So I really like buying them instead of borrowing them. And now that we're on the subject of borrowing books, I don't particularly like to borrow other people's books just because I don't like lending my own books. I remember maybe 2 or 3 times that I have ever lent, well, maybe a handful of times that I've ever lent anyone my books. And out of that handful of times that I've ever lent anyone my books, I've only had one person, aside from my husband who lives with me, but I guess that's kind of different. But one person, I've only ever had one person who used to be my best friend in high school that I would ever lend any of my books to. And the only reason why I would ever lend her my books is because she knew how anal I was about taking care of my books and, you know, having them in really good condition. And she was the only person who I saw would take care of my books in the same way that I would take care of them. Like, she wouldn't just throw them around, and she wouldn't like have them with, you know, bent edges or, you know, bent pages or wrinkled parts of the book. Like, she wouldn't destroy them in any way. If I gave them to her in perfect condition, I would get it back in perfect condition. And so that was why she was the only person that I would ever lend any of my books. That, and we kind of had similar tastes in reading, so we would swap books back and forth, or we would like recommend books for each other. But she's the only person that I've ever lent any of my books to. And all of the other people that I have lent my books to, I'm never lending anyone any of my books ever again because of these people. It reminds me why I don't like lending anybody any of my stuff, because they don't take care of it the way that you would take care of your own things. Like, I guess they don't appreciate, or they just don't understand how I am about my books. Like, I like to keep my books in perfect condition. I don't like any wrinkled pages or any wrinkled, you know, front covers or anything like that. I want my book to look perfect. And whenever I've lent people my books, I have just gotten them back in the worst possible conditions ever. And it just really pisses me off because I spend so much money on my books. These books aren't cheap. Some books cost like 20 bucks or 15, and they're not cheap. They're pretty expensive. And for someone to just treat your book like it was a piece of garbage and like not take care of it, it just really makes me mad. So that's why I don't like lending other people my books. So I had this one friend in high school. We were in band together, and I lent her, I remember this was when the book first came out, and everybody wanted to read it. And since we were in school, we either didn't have jobs or didn't have money, and so I remember that everybody wanted to read this book, and our local, like our school library, didn't have the book yet. So I was one of the very first people to have this book and start reading it, and that book was the Harry Potter Order of Phoenix book. And I remember I got this book and I was carrying it around school and I was reading it, and other people would ask me, oh, so how is it? And I'd be like, yeah, it's great. And they would ask me if they could borrow it, and I'd be like, yeah, I guess once I'm done. I remember I had 2 people ask me if they could borrow my book, and I was still reading it, so I kind of said maybe, sure, or something. And this one girl who I was in band with, she asked me to borrow the book, and I said sure. I figured, we're in band together, I spent a lot of time with this girl, she'll take care of my book, right? No, she did not take care of my book at all. Like, I knew the kind of person that she was. She was a very smart, nerdy kind of girl, and she always carried like this huge book bag. Not that I have anything against people that carry these huge book bags, but she would always carry this huge book bag with all this stuff in it, and whenever she would take stuff out of her book bag, you'd see like random pieces of paper just stuffed in there or in binders, and it was a mess, basically. And I knew that about her, but I didn't really think anything of it. And so I lent her this book, and she had it for, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe a couple of days, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. But I lent her the book for a couple of weeks or a couple of days, and when I got this book back, I wish that I had, like, I have the copy of it still. Every time I look at it, it just pisses me off, and I would show it to you guys, but I'm currently in the process of moving, so all of my books are in boxes right now. But I guess whenever I get around to unboxing and moving and stuff, I'll show you guys. But when I got this book back, this book, mind you, my book was in perfect condition. I had just gotten it, and there was nothing wrong with it. When I got it back, the book looked like it got run over by a car. It looked like it was thrown around all over the place. It looked like a mess. This was not the same book that I had given this girl to borrow for a few weeks, a few days. It looked completely disgusting when I got it back. The pages were dirty. Like, the outside cover of the pages, the spine and the sides, they were dirty, which I don't even know how the hell you get a book dirty. The front cover was ripped, like wrinkled, and just, it did not look like the same book that I lent this girl. And I was so mad when I got it back that I vowed never to lend anyone any of my books ever again, because it just pissed me off at the way that she took care of my book. I gave it to her in perfect condition, and I got it back looking like shit. So I got mad, and I vowed that I would never lend anyone any of my books. I wish I would have kept to that promise, because that didn't happen. I lent one of my really good friends another one of my books, and I'm really hoping that she doesn't ever see any of my videos, because I love you, Francis, but you jacked up my book. And you know, she's one of my really good friends, and I lent her my, I think it was the Twilight book, the first book that came out. I lent her my Twilight book. She's not very much of a reader, but I guess she really wanted to read this book, and she was really interested in reading it, and she figured that this would be the book that she would start off reading and hopefully get into it. And so I lent it to her, and you know, I figured I'm gonna give this another shot. I'm gonna give her my book to read, and then maybe she'll take care of it, because you know, she's one of my good friends. No, she didn't take care of my book. You're gonna hate me for it. You're gonna kill me, Francis, but damn, you really messed up my book, and I'm so mad. I'm never lending you another book ever again, or anybody else. And I know I've said that already before, but I'm seriously not gonna lend anyone else any of my books anymore, because I have the worst luck. They always give them back to me looking like shit. So I lent her my book. She says that she wants to read it. I don't even know if she got around to reading the book, to be honest. But when I finally asked her about it, she said she'd gotten into like a couple of pages or a couple of chapters, and then she stopped. And then I remember one day we were taking a ride somewhere. She went to the back to open her trunk and get something out, and there I see my Twilight book in the back of her trunk. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people who have cars, they usually use their trunk as like their personal closet, They stick all of their shit in the back of their trunk. They stick clothes and shoes and whatever kind of things that they might need to store in there. They put it in the back of their trunk. So she opens the back of her trunk and I see my book in there. And I'm just like, why is my book in the back of your trunk? When I got it back, needless to say, it was wrinkled. All the pages were wrinkled. The front cover was wrinkled. I was just like, it's a sign. I can't lend anybody any of my books because they're not going to take care of them the way that I'm going to take care of them. I'm too anal and too paranoid about my books to lend them to people anymore. And I learned my lesson. No one, at least none of my friends, or at least the friends that I've lent these books to, they're not going to take care of my books the way that I am. So I've just decided that I'm not even going to try anymore. The only person at the moment that I guess I kind of lend my books to, which kind of isn't really lending because we live together and, you know, we have bookcases and we kind of mesh our books together, is my husband. You know, he is a guy, but he actually takes care of his books better than any of my other friends that I've lent my books to. So I'm kind of okay with him reading my books. I mean, we live together, so it's not a big deal. He's the only other person that borrows my books or kind of reads. Like, some of our tastes are similar, some of them, so we read some of the same books. So our tastes mesh, and so we kind of swap books every now and then. But yeah, I think I learned my lesson. I'm not gonna lend anyone else any of my books because I have the worst luck with books and lending people. So buying books I prefer over borrowing them from the library, and no, I'm not ever gonna like lend anyone else borrow my books. So if you're watching this video and you know me in real life and you decide that you want to ask me to borrow a book, you're gonna have to submit a formal application because you're not getting anywhere near my bookshelves. It's not gonna happen because I'm paranoid and I'm traumatized, and it's not gonna happen. So definitely I'd rather buy my own books and I'd rather buy them, and I'd rather buy them in the store than buy them online. I think the only other times that I would ever buy my books online is if they didn't have them in the store for whatever reason. But I enjoy going to the bookstore and being able to walk down the aisles and see all of the shelves and look at all of the books and just, you know, just spend some time at the bookstore. It's something that I've always done. It's something that I used to do a lot as a kid with my sister. It was kind of like our thing. We would go to Barnes & Noble and we would walk around and check out all the books, and sometimes we wouldn't even buy anything. We would just do it for fun and just go in there and walk around. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I like buying books, apart from, you know, wanting to add them to my collection. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys have any topics that you might want to discuss or talk about or listen to me ramble for about 10 minutes on, then send them my way. You guys can leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!